Well, after the semester break here, we are entering into a different phase. You've worked through a variety of translation of important covenant passages throughout Genesis 12 through 36, particularly those initial chapters of covenant orientation. And we now come to a particular aspect of the larger exegetical study of your passage. Again, you've chosen a passage for your semester's exegetical work. Part one is this characterization study with a literary analysis. They go as two parts hand in hand with a larger exegetical process. When we talk about exegesis, that is the process of deriving meaning from text. There are varieties of ways that we look at it, at the text, such as translation, studies of words, studies of phrases, interaction with other parallel portions of scripture, and other types of study. We also talk about background study, that is an historical, cultural, physical world, geography, and so forth of the background. All of these are aspects that play into a complete exegetical analysis of a given biblical passage. But in Unit 9, we are focusing upon the characterization study and parallel aspect of literary analysis. But again, what we're talking about in exegesis is a holistic approach where we bring to bear a variety of exegetical methods in order to get at the complete, full meaning of a biblical text. So we'll be looking at this area of narrative study. Back at the beginning of the semester, Unit 1, Week 1, I had you read an article that I wrote a number of years ago, over 20 years ago now, on narrative analysis, again, which is simply how we look at the various aspects of the wonder of Scripture that we have in the narrative portions, and to get at meaning using these varieties of methods. And so it includes, of course, the analysis of the Hebrew structure, and you've been looking at that, and one of the reasons why I've given you each week in the assignments for translation a Hebrew layout of the various texts that you've been looking at. As you begin yours, and hopefully you've already started doing some of this analysis on your text, you'll look at the structure, the Hebrew structure, and that which contributes to the larger narrative analysis. So, literary study, character analysis, and again, as we look at, then as you analyze your particular passage and working at the deriving the full meaning of the text, you'll look at then how does my text fit into the larger narrative of Genesis 12 to 36, and then even that, larger than that, what we sometimes refer to as the meta-narrative of Scripture. You know, God's overall plan through history to bring about the redemption of humankind. Again, in the patriarchal stories of Genesis 12 to 36, we're focusing upon these key figures of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are your key full characters. There are other full characters in the text, such as the role of Sarah, Esau, Rebecca, and others. But at other times we have what we call flat characters, in which we're just given brief glimpses, and it is, again, part of the narrative art we talk about and how these different types of characters are blended together, but with the ultimate purpose of highlighting the most important character of the narrative, and that's God himself. Because again, Genesis 12 to 36 is about God working to bring about his goal in history to bless the nations, and in particular, to start a new plan post-Noah, post-flood, with the family of Abraham, going to a land of promise, giving promissorial covenants to Abraham and his descendants about making a great nation, and blessing the nations through his descendants. And the gift, of course, the gift of the land itself. So, narrative analysis, literary studies, characterization studies, these are the important parts of Unit 9.